5 days. 5 days. Welcome back to another episode of Agree with Pads. We record a lot of content. Yeah, and hopefully this has been an interesting, diversion. We've been doing weekly content in the off season. We've had a bit of a burst because I think it's the start of draft season. So yeah, today marks our fifth one. We've already done an auction draft, a superflex style dynasty draft, randomizer draft, which turned into a 3QB. We've done a head to head, and we've done and what we will be doing. I did it a couple of weeks ago. We were doing a by the book draft. Now, a by the book draft, we're going to put into practice everything I've taught around draft 101, 102. The idea about this podcast in general was to instill a bit of confidence in beginners and intermediates to go out beyond, some of these techniques and things we do to win these leagues are not that hard, and it's something fun. It's something fun to look at. So we'll be doing it a little bit different. It's going to be doing a little bit more longer form than some of the ones we've had before, but we're going to do a bit more deep dive into the way I think. And for any of my league mates out there, you get a bit of an insight into how I'm going to be drafting this summer. Without further ado, let's flip back to Sam from a couple of weeks ago and see what he had to say. Hello and welcome back. And yeah, this is going to be our fifth mock draft this of mock draft week. This today we're going to be taking a look at the textbook way of doing things. I've preached a lot, and you've probably seen the outputs of a lot of drafts this week, and I'm recording this a little bit early, so you're going to be experiencing this sometime in August, but I've actually recorded this in July, so it's a bit ahead of time because tomorrow, secret, maybe coming out soon, but we're going to be releasing something to support everything, and I'm going to do a bit more of a wider recap and a bit more up-to-date mock draft for you. But I just wanted to kind of show this week the different ways you can adapt and change and opening up some possibilities for people and getting the brain thinking. Obviously, maybe not in the most up-to-date mindset when it comes to the actual players you're considering, but in the way you should be drafting anyway. But enough with the preamble. Today we are going to be drafting in tiers. Now, we've drafted in tiers all the time, and I've mentioned it all the time. I've talked quite a lot over the past few weeks. I've done my tier rankings from quarterbacks all the way through. We'll do a bit more of that on around the league, and we'll get into that in more depth as the season starts as well. But what I've always mentioned when I've been drafting is that there's a tier break or what have you, and I want to give you a practical example of what that means. And there will be something released along the lines of a tool set that you can use if you go to rugbywithpads.com. That's as much as I'm going to give away, which is going to be similar to this, and you can do something like this yourself. So what I've got on the right hand side of my screen is effectively my tiers. Now there are loads of tier makers out there that you can use and effectively they treat it as a list. What I wanted to do today is try out something. And what I'm going to do is going to try out my specific tier list. So I'm going to make a copy, and this is what I've developed, and it's live as of the 13th of July at 4:14. That's I'm just taking a little break at the moment, but what I want to do is show you how I value players at this moment in time based on the tier standards. Now you'll see there's if you're watching on YouTube, that's great, but you can see tier 1 to 6. I've got up to 8 players. You'll see some some formatting things, and what this formatting gives you is basically telling you if you're going to get a good value out of this player, and it makes you helps you make decisions. It's all done on kind of Google Sheets formatting, etc. But you can take a look at it through another time, and I'll do a in-depth episode on this if you want to have a look at it. But what we're just going to do is get into it, and I'll show you how it should work. And we're going to do this on a standard PPR. Just make sure it is PPR here. We're going to be doing on a standard PPR 12 team, no third round reversal redraft. This is dedicated for the pod. The roster is going to look relatively standard to what you'll probably be drafting in your leagues. QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, flex, and 5 bench spots. I'm not going to do kicker and defense because you should be drafting those last no matter what format you're in, unless you're in kind of a crazy kicker league that actually gives them 25 points a game. But beside the point. And we're going to go through and I'm going to show you how I practically use these things. I'm going to give myself a little bit more time on this one. Now, it's the first time I've actually used this, so you're seeing this completely live. going to be interesting. So we're gonna kick off the draft, and we're just going to start it and go right. Let's go. And I get randomly picked the 5th slot, and maybe I should have done the 10th slot because I think the 10th slot is actually probably the hardest to go there. Now, straight away, you'll see that Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, and Jamar Chase and Kelsey go in the first 4 slots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to those names. I'm going to say, right, well, Justin Jefferson is he's gone. So he's not available to me. So it's Jamar Chase. So my top 2 wide receivers have gone. Travis Kelsey has gone. He would probably have gone to me at 5. I probably would have thought about him because he is a massive tier break down to the next one. You'll see I have a first round value on him, and he's available. Normally goes in the first round. I've judged these players around where they go, and we have CMC gone. So he is gone. So what I'm going to be doing now is taking a look and thinking, right, how many players are left in the highest tier that I can get, and based on what I've drafted so far, what's most valuable to me. And to many of you listening, it won't be surprised at who I'm picking. Now, if I go across QBs, there are two people in my top tier, but really the way I value QBs and the way I value it in PPR formats, they are lower. So even though Patrick Mahomes is going at the end of the first, I've got a red mark around him because I don't think he's available. He should be available in the first. He should be in the second round, and Josh Allen is maybe a better second round pick. So I still think I can get a top tier QB one in the second round, should I want to. Wide receivers, there are 3 guys left, and I don't think the distance between tier 1 and tier 2 is that great. So I'm going to leave that as well. Tight ends, my top tier is gone. So I'm looking at running backs, and there is only 1 running back left in my tier, and this is why the way I draft. I go after tier breaks. I look at getting the last person available, so you get the best value within that tier. Now, first round is maybe not the best illustrative example of this because you're going to get a super player if you're in the top 5. But I'm going to go for, of course, Mr. Austin Eckler. Now, you see throughout the whole thing, I didn't look at ADP once. I will look at ADP later because I'll be making judgments based on a mix of ADP and tier rankings. But so far, I get Austin Eckler. The rest of the first round goes pretty much as expected. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Bijan Robinson, Cooper Kupp, Barkley, Adams, Taylor, Mahomes, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown into second, Chubb, Lamb, Henry, and Garrett Wilson. Now, you know what? Am I going to go and mark these players? I'm going to mark a few of them. I'm probably going to mark them early in the round. But if you have time to do it, it's worthwhile doing because it clears your mind a little bit. And funnily enough, Patrick Mahomes is gone, so I've still got QB1 available. The rest of these guys, I think. Stephon Diggs has gone. Yeah, he's gone. And Tyreek Hill's gone as well. So my wide receiver tier 1's broken out. So I'm going to have a second, level wide receiver. Who Garrett Wilson went. That was an interesting one because I've got Garrett Wilson in my 3rd tier. I'm not as high on him as I was. I've got Demonte Adams, who's gone in the first round as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown's gone. Has AJ Brown gone? Unfortunately, AJ Brown's gone. DK Metcalf is still available to me. CD Lamb and Keenan Allen in that group. I like that. And at running back, where I'm a bit happier with what I've got so far, Derrick Henry has unfortunately gone for me. And the clock's ticking. I've got 2 minutes left. And you'll probably only have 2 minutes in most drafts. So you probably want to do it a bit faster than I'm doing. My recommendation is if you've got something like this, print it off because you can cross things off a lot easier. Now, I'm looking at the next best available player, and it's a PPR format. And I'm thinking, right, who's the top player available in each one? Josh Allen, yeah, that's great, but there's not much of a... I still think because it's PPR, I probably value my RB and what wide receiver tier is better. Wide receiver, there's still a group in here, and if I look where DK's going, who's my next top guy? He's going a bit later. I'm probably not going to pay up as much for CD Lamb, who is actually gone already. So, there's a couple of players left in there, but they normally go in the 3rd round, so they might come back to me. But someone who doesn't, who is screaming at me as being a value, whose draft round is the 2nd round, really. And also, actually, there's a couple of players here. Saquon Barkley, actually, he's gone. Jonathan Taylor, he's gone. Nick Chubb, he's gone. And I'm going to get the last player available in my running back tier 2, which is Josh Jacobs. And you know what? That couldn't have started better. And I'm going to leave a little bit more time here. I'm going to add into my queue so I don't miss him out there. That couldn't have gone better because my 2nd tier, I've got 2 tier breaks effectively there. I've got the last guy in there. So that is a massive bonus to me. And that means I've got as much value out of the running back position as possible. Now, it means I probably won't return to running back for a little while. and I probably want to consider elsewhere. Now, we'll mark off who's going next. Fun enough, Lamar Jackson went. Not Lamar Jackson, sorry. Jalen Hurts went. He went. Josh Allen went. So my QBs are down. So I've still got Lamar Jackson on the table. I'll give him a fourth round grade. Who else is available? T. Higgins has gone. I'm not as high on T. Higgins because I think there's a lot of competition there. DK Metcalf went just before. So you know who I'm aiming for here. You'll see it if you're seeing it on screen. Who I'm likely going to go afterwards, and I probably am going to go after him. Fun enough, I am low on Tony Pollard. You see, I've got him way down here. I'm going to put a bigger void thing there. He's gone already, but he's not someone that I'm looking to draft anywhere. And I think the decision is obvious. I mean, let's just play it out though, because at the end of my tier 2 of wide receivers, I've got Keenan Allen. He's probably not going to come back to me. If I look at the ADP, he's where is he? Yeah, he's probably not going to come back to me in the next 12, 15 picks, or whatever it is. Who else have I got in my next tier? I've got Mark Andrews. He's gone already, so that's another one gone. I think he's probably a bit too rich for my taste. I've got TJ Hawkinson in that area as well. I wouldn't be upset if I went down and got George Kittle further down. I think I'm going to make the decision because I'm sewn in on wide receiver already. Then I'm going to go with Keenan Allen because he, as being a wide receiver one, and when I did my tiers against specific position groups a few weeks ago, I had Keenan Allen as being in that kind of wide receiver one zone, especially in PPR. He plays a bit more in the slot than Mike Williams does. I don't think he's going to be competed against quite as much as the likes of what's his name, Quentin Johnson would lead you to believe. I think it's a good balance. And if I look now at who I'd go for, Lamar Jackson's probably going to go. Ramondre Stevenson would have been up next. Chris Olave I might have been talked into if I've been going via ADP. I'm not liking any of those players. So I'm not going to go for any of those players. I'm going to go for the player who I think has the tier break in my mind, and that is, of course, Keenan Allen. Now, enough, Ramondre Stevenson goes next. They're going ADP. You are probably going to be up against a lot of people who are going to go via ADP because, you know what, groupthink doesn't steer you too far wrong most of the time. Now, there are a couple of players who have gone now who I'm thinking, I'm a little bit upset that they've gone. And including Justin Fields, who I like a lot. I'm probably higher on him because he's my keeper. He has gone in the 4th round. I've given him a 5th round grade. He kind of goes between the two, depending on formats. Justin Herbert's gone. Joe Burrow's gone. In the running back room, Joe Mixon's gone. That's a shame. And as has Jahmyr Gibbs. So we're stepping down a tier. So you know what? I'm thinking to myself, maybe I need to wait a little bit on running backs because the value high up there isn't there. Maybe Damian Pierce is actually a good shout in the next round. We'll have to see what comes out. But I'm starting to feel like more and more of my draft, I'm actually just filling out the team almost in order. Not quite, but we're not getting far away from that. Is that Chris Godwin or Chris Olave? No, that was Chris Godwin. Sorry, I should have expanded this a little bit, but that was Chris Olave. I thought he was going more in the 6th, but he's going incredibly high there, so I'm going to put him as a 3rd round grade there. Chris Godwin over here. Oh no, that should have been Chris Godwin. I'm higher on Chris Godwin than I am on Chris Olave. And we'll see if he's available later down. But I've got Chris Olave a bit lower down. I do think he'll be successful this year, but I don't feel like he's going to perform much more above these guys, especially with a new quarterback as well. We're running out of time a little bit, but we're just going to make sure we make the right pick. We're going to pick out players who we don't want to pick out. Devontae Smith has gone. That's a shame, but we do have DJ Moore at the top of my list here. I like that. But you know what? Someone's calling out to me here, and it's the Lamar Jackson. Yeah, it's Lamar Jackson. I realise that he's not gone. This is something that I would advise to you is just make sure you're marking them off correctly. I've got a few to pick. Lamar Jackson is at the top of the list. I've got a selection of players in the next group who I do like, who I think will come back to me. DJ Moore stands a chance of coming back to me if I look at wide receivers here. Who else might come back to me? Jalen Waddle is still available in that grouping as well. Chris Godwin's still available, and he's probably available a bit later. I think he does go in the 6th, actually. Let's put him down there. Brandon Ayuk is in that grouping as well. DeAndre Hopkins is in that. So unless they all go for those guys, that's there. Now, TJ Hawkinson is the only guy who I might consider as well. But I'm feeling, and you've probably seen from the QB rankings, I'm not liking late QB as much unless there is a couple of really superstar players out there later on. But you know what, for this build, let's try it out and let's go. Let's go with what we said. Tier 2 guy. We're going to go with Lamar Jackson, and we've got him. So far, first 4 rounds of draft, pretty happy with that. Eckler, Jacobs, Keenan Allen, and Lamar Jackson. That means that with one of the one for positions, quarterback, where you only really need one guy moving forward, and that would be something I would also consider. Is if you only need one guy, you probably only need one guy. And if you draft him high, you definitely only need one guy. TJ Hawkinson has gone. Kittle is still available. I'm potentially warming on tier 4 there because for tight end, and I'm going to refocus back on wide receiver and who's left because Terry McLaurin just went. He's gone. DeAndre Hopkins has gone. Christian Watson, who I am not high on. I like him. He's a big body guy, and I think he's probably still a value in the 5th, but it's just not someone I like. DeAndre Swift has gone. That feels way, way too early on me. And you can see here, he is way down the list. He is in my tier 6 of guys. I do not value him in that way at all. And you can see what starts to open up is a really clear tier break. And because I'm valuing at this point, I effectively closed off my tiers for QB, so I'm not really considering them anymore. So I'm not going after them. Not really going to consider that grouping. It might be easier actually if I just freeze the top row here. So I'm going to do that while I'm waiting. Yeah. So I'm feeling that the tier 3 of wide receivers, and those are your kind of late wide receiver 2 or the guys with wide receiver 2 upside. Now, DJ Moore is ranked lower than Jalen Waddle and Chris Godwin, etc. But for me and for my money, I think he's probably actually going to have a better season. So you know what? I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to go after DJ Moore. He won't come back to me. There are a lot of players I like in that group, but let's say I've got him and we're going to pretty much assume that we're not going to get anyone else in that group. Now, Kyle Pitts goes shortly after. George Kittle goes as well. So we're winding down the players when it comes to tight end. And there might be another obvious choice. Oh, he just goes. That's a real shame. Dallas Goedert went. Darren Waller went, and Kyle Pitts is already gone. So my tier 4 of guys is gone. So I am going a slightly later tight end, and that's fine. This is the balance you weigh up. I decided to go for a position that I thought had more value, and got a number 1 in a system with, and that played out some of my thoughts there. I got a number 1 in a system. Has Jalen Waddle gone? Let's just check. Sure, he would have by now. If he has not been, I might be picking him up. I'll have to see. I don't see him on the list, so I'm assuming he's gone, and I can't see him on the page because I'm kind of blind from people. But yeah, sorry, he went in the 2nd round. He went well early. But anyway, as I said, in this system, I value consistency, and he is going to be the wide receiver 1 in the system, which I think means volume as well. So that is someone. So while he is lower down potentially from previous production, it's a different system. I think he has a lot of value, and he's one of my guys this year anyway. I do have Brandon Ayuk at the end of that wide receiver tier, and I'm thinking that might be the play. If I look at the running backs who have gone, running backs are going later and later. Unfortunately, Joe Mixon's gone, which is a real shame. I would have loved to pick him. Travis Etienne went way too early. Breece Hall goes really early as well. I don't rate him as quite high. This tier 5, you see, there's a lot of red. There's a lot of guys that I do not rate. I don't think J.K. Dobbins has gone. Has he? He must have done. Can't see him. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins has gone. That's my tier 5 run out there. So I'm getting down to tier. Yeah, I have 1 left in a tier 4 position. I'm not sure if he's even available yet, but I think I might be just going thin on running backs. But I've got 2 top running backs, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm kind of looking down the barrel of Alvin Kamara and thinking that could be an interesting pickup because I think even since I've written all this down, I'm higher on him. But I need to secure someone who I've got a bit more consistency on and balance that a little bit. And see in tight end world, I think there's opportunity to get people later on. That I still hold a lot of value. My bottom 2 tiers are still valuable because I haven't rated everyone. So I am going to go with my top-rated tier 3 guy in wide receiver, and that is going to be Brandon Ayuk. I can actually press the button to select him. So after 6 rounds, you see by doing this, I've actually got a really nicely balanced side. Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Brandon Ayuk. And at that point, I'm thinking, right, I need to focus elsewhere. But I don't want to focus anywhere elsewhere for the sake of it. I need to be able to make sure I deliver value to my team. Now, I think Damian Pierce has gone. Yeah, Damian Pierce has gone, unfortunately. So let's scrap him off there. He's gone, unfortunately. And we're looking at running backs and thinking, who's left? Who's left? Unfortunately, Alvin Kamara did go, and I was staring him down a little bit. But unfortunately, he has gone, as has Cam Akers. He's gone. Rashad White, has he gone? He's gone as well. Oh, yeah, we're running out of people pretty quickly. Isaiah Pacheco has gone. David Montgomery, has he gone? I don't think David Montgomery has gone yet. No, David Montgomery is still available. Javonte Williams is still available, although I don't really rate him highly. I'm probably not going to go after him too much. Rashad Penny is probably available later. But this is where it gets difficult. And tier 7, I'm thinking about, right, do I need to get a third running back to protect my interests? I'm probably not going to play anyone but Austin Eckler and Josh Jacobs if I have a choice, because I've got such high draft capital. So I'm maybe looking at tight end and thinking about who's going to come back to me. And if I look at the ADP, and this is where you have to balance ADP with everything you're doing. Pat Fryermuth probably won't make it back to me. David Njoku won't make it back to me. Pat Fryermuth is high on my list. Has Evan Ingram already gone? I think he's already gone by this as well. Let's have a quick look at tight end. Evan Ingram hasn't gone. Evan Ingram is probably the higher guy on my list here. He does. Yeah, he's probably slightly higher than Pat Fryermuth. There's not much in him. So I'm thinking, even though it feels like a little bit of a reach, in order to get my guys here, I feel like I want to go for them, because there's no one really in the running back room who jumps out to me saying I want to reach out for him. Particularly, Dalvin Cook has gone, so I need to get rid of him. And then we're down to Antonio Gibson. We can get later. I think James Connors has already probably gone. Oh, has he? Let's have a quick look at him, because James Conner could be a really interesting one. I think he's already gone. I can't see where he is on the board, but he is not available. And you can always do a quick search. Yeah, he's not available, so we're going to assume he's been gone in an earlier round. So 38 seconds left on the clock. I think I've already made my decision. I'm going to go for a wide receiver, and I'm going to go for a guy who I think he had a great season last year. I think he's got a fantastic quarterback behind him, and that is a big difference maker in tiebreakers. So I'm going to go with Evan Ingram. Now, you can probably see I'm not filling out the list particularly well at this point, because tight end I'm going to punt on a little bit and maybe get a second tight end a bit later on. But there are some key players going here. You can see there's a bit of run on quarterbacks. Not something I have to worry about, because I've got my quarterback that I'm really happy with, and I am not one for storing another quarterback who's the same level, just because I have him on a bye in the whenever he's got his bye. Is it like the 4th round? Is it by number 4? I don't know, but either way, I need to look at a Baltimore Raven and find out where he's going. But I'm not one to get multiple quarterbacks just to protect against bye weeks. Not something that I've ever really done, even when I've gone low quarterbacks, because you can always draft someone. You can always stream someone, unless you're in a 2-quarterback league. That's obviously a different kettle of fish. And we did a mock on that in a super flex draft. Anyway, I'm talking a lot. I'm just thinking about where I go next, because wide receiver, I've gone pretty wide receiver heavy, and I maybe need to revisit the well when it comes to running backs, because I think one more running back of that tier is probably where I need to go. And there's a couple of names missing on this, I think. I feel like I probably need to put Brian Robinson in this tier as well. And that's maybe something that I've overlooked before. I haven't put him in already. I do miss players out. And if you do double up on players, it highlights on this list as well, which is a little bit of a nice one. But I think I'm going to go for his running mate. And again, this is PPR. I think Antonio Gibson has more of a chance to be a PPR, have a PPR effect, and I'm going to go for Antonio Gibson, because he's the last. He's one of the only players available in that last tier. He's gone. I'm assuming Mattison's gone. Let's have a look at our running backs here. And it comes back to us shortly afterwards. AJ Dillon goes shortly after that. Miles Sanders, I'm sure, has gone. Yeah, Miles Sanders has gone. I'm assuming Matterson has gone as well. Yeah, Matterson's gone. Okay. So we get the last guy in that tier. And again, this is what we want to do. We want to get the last couple of guys in the tier to maximize our value. You wait too late and you get stung. But I'm really happy running in with 3 running backs there. So I'm going back and I'm going to look at pass catchers and see if there's anything that jumps out to me. Now, I probably don't want to get too many guys if in one for positions in the same tier, because then I will have that decision. I was like, well, which one do I do? And I probably overspent on that tier. And this tier I've got for tight ends, I've got 8 to 10. I got Evan Ingram a little bit early. I probably got him in the 7th. I probably could have waited. I could have waited between him and Pat Frymouth, but based on my tier rankings, I went ahead on that one to go behind another. It pushes other people out. So I'm going to go back to the well and consider wide receiver. Now I've got a couple of minutes left. Gabe Davis appears at the top of my list. Where is Gabe Davis kicking about? Gabe Davis is kicking about in tier 6, and I'm in round 9. I've given him an 8th round grade. I think he's going to be better than advertised. Deontay Johnson, I'm assuming, has gone. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys have already gone, but I'm just going to, kind of broadly say they've all gone because I've given them, higher grades, and I don't value their grades because I think these guys in tier 5, the likes of Deontay Johnson, Drake London, Christian Watson, Mike Evans, Marquise Brown, you can get better value if you go for someone who you can actually draft in the 7th. And I think it's going to be obvious, and it's going to be a name that I've drafted quite a lot of, and I've got quite a few shares of. It's going to be Gabe Davis. So Gabe Davis is my wide receiver 4, and I'm feeling like my bench is really coming together. I'm really liking this squad a lot. Now, there's a player who went at the end of the 9th who I really like, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is funnily in my 4th tier, but he outside of some of the other guys is a 9th round grade. He goes at 9th round in where he should be going, in my opinion, in the 6th or 7th. He's kind of like that tier. He's a tier around Justin Herbert and those kind of guys. I rate him similarly highly as Joe Burrow because I think he does have weapons. He's got the offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year with him as well. So at this point, I'm now thinking about, right, well, I need to draft a bit of depth, and where was I not as strong? And I'm maybe going to go back on myself a little bit. And I did get Evan Ingram earlier. I marked the wrong guy there. I didn't get Cole Kmet. He's gone. Dalton Schultz has gone. So I'm thinking, right, I need to get one of these guys who's my last tier of tight ends, because the tier breaks are quite small, and maybe there's a chance that one of these guys could actually elevate themselves and be a bit more valuable. And I'm looking at ADP versus my rating of them. And I'm feeling like there's one name that's screaming out to me that said, draft me. And it's looking at the top of my board here on ADP. It's looking at my board here, and it's going to be Chigga Okonkwo. And I'm going to get him to complete my tight end. I'm going to then ignore tight end. And now I am drafting for luxury. Because I've drafted in tiers, I've ended up getting one tier 1 running back, a tier 2 running back, who I don't think is much worse. I think it has a chance to become a running back 1. I missed out on my tier 1 wide receivers, but because I went for a tier 1 running back, I've got a tier 2 wide receiver and 2 tier 3 wide receivers who I still think could have wide receiver 1 potential. I got a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion, late in the 4th round. So I'm really happy about Lamar Jackson as well. That's probably one of the first times I've actually drafted him. I end up quite a lot with Justin Fields, because I wait a little bit longer, but I decided to go ahead. One of those, and funnily enough, I think Justin Fields actually went earlier in this one. I think people are warming to him, so I need to maybe adjust my rankings. And I've got 2 tight ends. They are a lower tier tight ends, but if you're going lower tier, that's what I'd always say. And I would say if you're, I've mentioned this when waiting on a certain position. If you wait on a certain position, double up if you can, because you won't be upset. Now, I haven't gone through all these lists, but I'm assuming everyone in wide receiver tiers has gone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at who's available and then who's in my tiers, who still appears in my rankings. I've got him. I'm going to assume they've all gone as well. Michael Thomas is probably gone. Jahan Dotson's definitely gone. And I'm looking down here, and I'm staring at Cortland Sutton, has Cortland Sutton gone? Probably has. Oh, yeah, he went at the end of the 10th. That's a shame. George Pickens has gone. Trent Burt's gone. Christian Kirk's gone, maybe? Kirk? Yeah, Christian Kirk's gone. Unfortunately, Juju has gone as well. Trading on name value, and I'm down to the tier 8 of wide receivers. So maybe I'm crossing over and I'm actually looking at the running backs instead. So let's look at running backs available, and towards the top of my list, Zeke Elliott. Ooh. I don't think Rashad Penny is available. No, Javonte Williams is gone. We know that. Isaiah Pacheco, Khalil Herbert has gone, probably. Yeah, Khalil Herbert's gone. So you know what? I'm blessed with depth in the position. So I'm going to go for a bit of a luxury pick, and I'm going to hope he is picked up somewhere else. And I am going to go with Ezekiel Elliott here. I like him in the 11th round. It's basically a gimme pick. It's someone that you could easily drop if needed. And then I'm just thinking it's going to be a luxury pick. So my last pick, I'm not going to really worry about tiers. I'm going to think about the best player available and just to balance my team out a little bit. I feel like I might need one more running back because Ezekiel Elliott might not play till later on in the season. I'm looking down the list here, and there's not a lot coming up to me here, really. I don't really rate any of these guys. So, you know what? I'm going to come away from that. I could complete the double free agency pull and go for Leonard Fournette as well. But no, I'm going to go for another wide receiver, and I'm going to go deep a little bit to a bit of a sleeper that I've been picking up quite a lot. I think Van Jefferson is going to have a hell of a season. He knows the offense, and I think it's going to be a good offense who's going to have to throw a lot because they're going to be behind because that defense is young and bad. So that's the end of that draft. And you can see I ended up with Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Evan Ingram, flex of Brandon Ayuk. That's a touch. I like that a lot. Antonio Gibson, Gabe Davis, Chigaquonko, Zeke Elliott, and Van Jefferson. And you can see here, I didn't necessarily fill out my whole squad. I did end up filling out my squad first, sorry. But that wasn't by design. That wasn't by intent. I feel like if you are punting on a position, and maybe I went 2 late quarterbacks, I would have done that, and it would have looked a bit different. But it just so happened that things fell to me in the 5th position, and they felt right at those. But guys, let me know what you think. Put in the comments. Tweet me on social media. What I'll probably do is an episode in a couple of weeks. Well, to recap all of this, and we'll look at which was our favourite draft and which one do we think had the best value. But let me know what you think, and I'll leave you back to future Sam, who is going to cover off the rest of the episode. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that, guys. That was fun to make. It was challenging to make because it was challenging thinking about players this far ahead in such an analytical way. But I really do hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it. So let's put it that way. And the fact that I spoke for half an hour without really stopping for a breath was testament to that. Hopefully you followed along and really got into the way I was thinking, because I think the way of drafting in tiers is something that's really important. And because of that, I'm actually going to release a bonus episode, a 6th of the week. Not quite doing 7 in this week because that's, even God had a day to rest, didn't he? But tomorrow I'll be releasing an episode. I'm releasing the IDK, which is the intermediate draft kit. For those of you who listen to Fantasy Footballers play on the UDK. As always, you can like and subscribe at Rugby with Pads. You can follow me on YouTube, on all the socials. Support the pod, and that's where you can get hold of the IDK as well on rugbywithpads.com. You'll see the release episode tomorrow. But thank you very much for listening, and I will see you on the virtual gridiron.